What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another live oil painting video. So as usual, we are going to be painting live, so there will be no edits here. This is a 16 by 20 inch cotton canvas that has been toned ahead of time with oil paint. Basically, I keep my brushes in a jar of safflower oil and linseed oil. Yes, I added safflower oil to the jar. And this big red brush, it's a Princeton brush, I just used to tone the surface. And the palette is, this is what the palette looks like right now. Just using the square one for the next couple paintings. Just a little bit easier with the cleanup. But this is a new wave tabletop Posh palette linked in the description box along with the colors. Though not all the colors are linked in there because not all of them are available on Amazon. But anyway, it's white, titanium white, and lead white number 2, which is a Rublev brand, lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, deep cadmium free, which is not really that good of a color, so I'll get the original cadmium yellow later. So this is Indian yellow, raw umber, burnt sienna, cadmium red light, alizarin crimson, raw umber. This is a sap green, ultramarine blue, not ultramarine blue, phthalo turquoise, sap green, and Indian yellow mix for this green. This is cadmium green, cerulean blue, phthalo blue, and ivory black. Just for everybody that's been asking about the colors that I've been using. I know that there's no palette camera, so apologize for that. But yeah, no palette camera. So let's go ahead and get started here. This is a portrait, but as usual, this will be more than just a face. So let's say the top of the head is going to fit over here. It's going to give us an angle. Shoulder, it's going to land over there. Elbow, somewhere over there. There's a hand over here. You can already kind of get a sense of the gesture. Shoulder over here. Dress that the model's wearing. The hand. Remember, the hand starts off like a mitten, then it turns into a claw, and then eventually will look like a hand. The other hand may land somewhere over there. The chin over here, the head is tilted. We got a nice little tilt here. Hey Celeste, Lady Desk, Grace, Tipu, Gigi, welcome everybody. Thanks for all the likes, everybody. My drawing color, by the way, forgot to mention. Yeah, it is a lot of colors. I'm doing some other paintings off camera, so that's why I have this set up like this. I've got cadmium red and black is what I'm using for my drawing color, which is a nice brown. So I've got cadmium red and black that I'm using to draw. Suppose the elbow is going to fit over there. And I have a tendency to elongate arms. So let's hope that I don't do that this time. But if I do, we'll catch it early and fix it early. Hand, arm, or should I say that's the wrist, thumb. And that is the start of the hands. You can already tell a lot of what's going to happen here based on this start. Oh no, I have to do some of them off camera. Those are some figurative stuff that I want to do so I can sell prints and stuff. Because I can't do everything on YouTube because I'll get blocked, unfortunately, from YouTube. And I had a commission too that I had to deal with, which thankfully it is over with. That being said, I am not doing commissions for a little while. Taking a break from commissions and just focusing on studio work. Top of the head now. I'm a little more cautious with the drawing. Yeah, it was the commission from before. The person didn't like it, so I had to edit some things. Oh, awesome. You're painting too, Lady Death. That's cool. Thanks for painting along with me. There's the outside shape. What are you working on today, Lady Death? And this gives me the tilt of the head. This is going to be the center line for the tilt of the head. This gives me axes of the eyes. As this is a live painting stream, everyone, I will be in and out a little bit. I have some clothing in the dryer in this apartment complex. We have a shared laundry thing. So one of the dryers didn't work and I had to set my dryer again, which was kind of annoying. So I've got to go pick it up. Hopefully it worked. This other dryer worked. But I've got to go pick it up, and I think I've got an app for it. Although the app is frozen. I got to pick it up in 15 minutes. So I got to take the elevator. So I'm just going to draw for now. So I'll be taking an extra break early today because of laundry. You're about to do a portrait for gun victim violence. Oh, wow. Hey, Linda. Thanks for watching from Arizona. Lady Death, you said been working on a miniature, 10 by 10 centimeter. Oh, wow. That's cool. Beauty and the Beast miniature painting. Position for the eyes here. Eyebrows. Now the shape of the head, the size of the head seems to be alright. Now of course you can do all the careful measuring that you want. This should land somewhere around the chest area. So you can do all the measuring you want, but I don't want to measure too much. Try to actually paint what I see and also paint what I perceive using perception. Mouth. And all the proportions look relatively good. Close enough. Now this is a type of start that I would recommend for any painting, whether you're going to work on it for one day, a week, or a month, a year, 2 years. That gives me the arm. A little more caution with the drawing. See, she's holding her hair. So that gives the gesture. A little more caution with the drawing, everybody. I've been kind of bombing the drawing now and then, so try not to bomb the drawing. How was everyone's weekend? I was gone for quite a few days. Lucy was on spring break. I'm sure some of you were on spring break. If this is the right elbow, then the thumb is going to be there. So Let's make sure we put the thumb in the right place. Yeah, how's everybody's week? Did you have spring break? Were the kids on spring break? Those of you that have kids. Drawing, going from claw to hand in line form. Oh, thanks, Celeste. I'm glad I was missed. Yeah, I missed painting. I did, like I said, I did do some painting. I've got a portrait painting that will be a tutorial eventually. Here, I'll give you a little spoiler. Simply because I feel like a lot of my videos have not been doing well because I'm not painting super realistic. Though I know I can. So this is an unfinished portrait for what you'll see eventually in a tutorial. This is unfinished. But yeah, that's one of the paintings that I'm doing. Give you a little teaser there. Me, fun stuff, yeah, basically just eat a lot and paint when Lucy was away with family. I did manage to do that one painting of the horse, like super fast before Lucy showed up. Okay. Gives me the shadow shape for the knuckles. Adjust the shape for the wrist. Thanks, Linda. And I almost, today's video was almost another face, but let's face it, I like to do more than just a face. Paint more than just a face. I like backgrounds and for things to be more involved. Of course, this one's just going to be more classical. A little careful with the drawing. Shadow shape. Over there. So you got grandkids on vacation now, Gigi. I'm glad you liked the horse video. Alright, so the drawing is alright. I'm quite happy with this. There's less linseed oil and spike lavender oil in the mixture today. So less oil is in this start than usual. I just want to have a little bit more control over this drawing stage, and however long it takes is however long it takes. If I don't manage to finish this today in the stream, I'll work on it later. That fast-paced type painting is a lot of fun, but I also want to be able to, not have to feel like I gotta rush anything. Sometimes it's fun when it's a race against time. Other times you really kind of want to do more. Here, I'm going to lower the eye a little bit. Sometimes you want to do more. And this will give me more of a shape for the forehead. And then with that big brush, I'll cover the background, which is going to be kind of a bluish tone. Let's see if the face is all right. The eyes needed to be lowered a little bit, so there'd be more room for the forehead. And this is the topmost position of the head. A little something for the hair. I sketch in these shadows. I don't want to be too aggressive with this brush because this motion, this kind of scrubbing motion, it does beat the crap out of the brush. Sounds like something just collapsed upstairs, so hopefully the ceiling doesn't fall on me. That would not be good. So she's holding her hair. Oh, thanks, Gigi. I could paint over several days, yeah, but I don't know, I'm just kind of going with the flow. I was happy with the horse painting. It's not that I'm unhappy with anything I've been doing. I just, today I'm feeling like a little more cautious with the drawing. That's why you see me doing this kind of classical type start. Okay. So dress, little shape for the dress here, angle for the drapery there, cast shadow here. So quite a lot of drawing. Again, I don't want to do too much of this motion, this scrubby one, so I'm just going to go like this because I don't want to beat the devil out of the brush because the devil's not too kind to my brush. These brushes are about like $20 each. They're not that cheap. Thanks, Linda. Okay, we've got the position of everything. The hand is there. The proportions are locked in place. All in a relatively fast pace. Again, I'm not trying to work that fast. But this is pretty good for the drawing. Let me check the time now. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go pick up some clothes from the dryer. I don't want to leave it in the dryer. I just have to take the elevator. There's an app for it. Okay, so it finished. Alright, so this is going to be a break. I'm gonna have to take a break prematurely to go pick up some clothes, but I'll probably skip the first break just because of this. I know there's about 12 of you here, so I'm gonna take this time to go pick up the clothes I gotta get from the dryer. Sorry about that. I hope that the machine worked this time. I'll play a video for you. Oh yeah, that was a much bigger brush that Bob Ross used. Alrighty, I'm gonna play that video for you and I'll be right back. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another break time quick 5 to 7 minute oil painting. This is just a gessoed piece of wood. It was gessoed with acrylic gesso, and now I have added a thin coat of raw umber and black using a mixture of safflower oil and spike lavender. Now we are going to use the alla prima technique to paint a 5 to 7 minute eye. We're going to start off with white. This is going to create a sphere for us. And this is going to be the eye socket area right here. And down here is going to be the corner of the eye. This is the edge of the eye socket, and now we have the entire shape for the eye socket. The tear duct will be about here. Next thing we will do is go and get the dark brush. This is going to be just black and raw umber right here. So this is going to be our tear duct. black and raw umber. This is going to be the end of the eye, and this is going to be the iris. Very simple iris shape there. And now we're going to put in the bottom plane of the upper eyelid, lower eyelid, and the top of the lower eyelid. Very simple, iconic looking eyeball shape. Next, we are going to go in with the light back towards the top of the eye, and this will give us the eyebrow right above. Nice and easy. So there's a quick little eyebrow. The tear duct is going to pick up some light, and this creates the tear bag area. And you want to work with a decent amount of paint so that you can apply different value changes, as you're seeing there, just by modifying how much pressure you put on the brush. So this is the tear duct here. See how it gets lighter? Less pressure will make this less light. And now we're going to have a little bit of light picking up on the top plane of the upper eyelid as it starts to curve around the back side of the eye there. We'll also pick up a little bit of light on the upper eyelid, and we'll also pick up a little bit of light on the top of the eye socket, which is going to create a nice gradation here. And these are just cheap pieces of wood that were gessoed with Liquitex acrylic gesso. They're cheap pieces of wood that are perfect for doing oil painting sketches such as this one. And less pressure is going to make this less bright as we work all the way towards the back side of the eye, finishing the first pass for this eye. Next thing we are going to do is add more light to the top, giving us close to our brightest light. And you can paint this in 5 to 7 minutes at home for practice. Simple practice. Now a little bit of light for the sclera. Remember, the sclera, the white of the eye, is not white, but rather some type of middle value. Now this paint... Okay, alright. Sorry about that. I had to go pick something up from the laundry downstairs. But anyway, this is the brush that I'll use to add some color to the background. It is a red line Princeton brush, 2 inches, 5.1 centimeters flat. And no, we will not beat the devil out of this brush because we do not want to get paint all over the place. So let me just show you what I'm gonna get out of the palette. I'm gonna get the Phthalo blue, and there is medium on this brush. Mostly the titanium white. The titanium white's actually to the left. The lead white is to the right. I use them both interchangeably, mainly like switching gears to a car. When I want to go fast paced and cover a lot, like like if I want to say a car, like gears 1 through say 3, then I use the titanium white. But if I want to kind of slow down and have more control. Then I'll use the lead white. You see how the paint applies kind of nicely? Throughout all my experience here on YouTube, you never really seen me with a big brush covering a big space like this. And this is just because I finally decided that I would I'm adding some cerulean blue to the mix. I finally decided, you know what, let's just get a bigger brush. And there goes my timer. Let's see if that timer will go off again. Okay. Brushes are expensive these days, y'all, so you won't see me do too much of the scrubbing stuff that I used to do. Mainly I picked that up from studying at Studio Incaminati in Philadelphia about 1 million years ago. A lot of painters still do that kind of motion, but brushes are kind of expensive, so kind of just paint like this. Nice and simple. There's something so therapeutic about this, and I know this is no different from painting a wall in your house, but I don't know, there's something kind of nice about this. Kind of relaxing. Now with the same brush, I'm going to add a little bit of a dark color, and I'm going to go with the alizarin in black. Mix right over here, because we're actually going to have the skin tones ranging from here to here on the palette. So first thing I want, let's add some cadmium red. See, that's a true cadmium red. You see how brown that is right away? Now that's true cadmium right there. That's the strength of cadmium. And you don't really see it often in use until you apply just a little of it like that to a big brush like this, and see how it changes everything in the mixture. Pretty neat what you can do with the bigger brush. Cover dark for the hair, and we'll paint into this as we go. That's so entertaining. It's so kind of therapeutic in a way. Kind of therapeutic in a way. Big old brush. So therapeutic. Okay. Okay, so we did that. Now, I'm going to put the brush away in this container of safflower oil and linseed oil. Okay, and it doesn't even cover the whole brush. I'm going to add more. I went to the store and bought more this Gamblin linseed oil. You know what? Let's just pour it in there on camera just to add some interest. This is how I keep my brushes. Let's add enough to fill this all the way up to the top. Okay, you see that? So that's how I keep my brushes. I don't clean them. I live in a small apartment and I can't really use any of the sinks to clean the brushes. So that's what I do. Thanks, Linda. So I got two of them. I've got a smaller jar and a bigger jar. This is the smaller jar here. And the other one was the bigger one. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a light brush, a middle brush, and a dark brush. But we'll start off with the dark. And we're going to work from over here. This mixture that we started with. Okay, so now what we're going to do is consider this our darkest dark. And the darkest dark is going to live somewhere around here. Let's see if that's dark. We can get a little darker. So add more black and some alizarin, crimson. Let's see. Is that dark now? Dark enough? Yeah, kinda. Okay, so that's where our darkest dark is gonna live. Somewhere over there. Maybe somewhere over there. Okay, so now we're going to let that be our dark dark. We're going to have a middle brush, and this will be our middle brush, and I'm going to add the red right into the blue. I'm going to just use the blue. So see how the red and the blue, they interact, and this gives us something around middle tonality for skin tone. Okay, so that's going to be, say, the middle. The light brush will drag right from the titanium white, mix with whatever's already on the brush, because there's always something on the brush, because I don't clean it. Now let's see, whatever this is, I'm going to add burnt sienna to it. And see how the burnt sienna is not strong enough, so we add cadmium red. So when you use a lot of paint, that's when the cadmiums really start to become a thing. And then I'll mix right in between these light, middle, and dark. I'll mix right in between them as I go, changing the color whenever I need to. Now we'll zoom you in to the face, and we're gonna work one piece at a time. Okay, so here's the light for the face, and that's okay. It's good enough. We'll adjust it as we go. Like I said, the horse painting was really fast paced because I knew I didn't have the entire time. Now I do know I have the entire time, unless Lucy gets off of work early, which would be unfortunate for me. But anyway, I do believe I have more time today. So we'll draw and paint a little more. Hey, the OG amigos, can you do all the darks at the same time? Sure, you can do all the darks at the same time. Let's play around with that idea. Let's say this one and this one. These are important, but now, okay, this is the same brush. Let it interact with stuff over here. And of course nothing actually happens simultaneously, according to Einstein, but in the same little time frame, we have this dark here, and that's pretty much all the darks for the hair at the same time. I don't think I'll get the dark for this just yet because I'm going to have to mix a different color for it. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I can get all of the darks at the same time. With that same mixture. But thanks for the question. Okay, so now use this to draw. And we've got a young model, probably 20s. That typical kind of setup that you see in a lot of paintings these days, and all of basically throughout the span of time. And we're gonna have to be a little careful with the shapes of the face. But we will throw in a male model here and there. I'm creating these for the purpose of selling prints and getting into some shows at some point. Light for the nose. There's going to be an underplane there. And I gotta be careful with this angle. That's pretty steep of an angle. It may be too far. I think it's alright, but let's just adjust it a little bit there. Okay, so now we've got the light for the face covered. Axis of the mouth is a little crooked. We're gonna have to move it to the right. So let's go ahead and get a different brush. I'm gonna add a little bit of red to it, which is gonna give us a pink. This is off camera because it kind of hurts to move this palette once in a while, but anyway, so there it is on the bottom. That's another reason I don't have the palette on the side, because I paint so much. I paint pretty much every day these days. It hurts my shoulder to have my arm raised for such a long period of time. So having the palette on the ground, not the ground, but on a table, it's easier on my shoulder. I'm not that old yet. I'm 34, and nobody's old. We're all young until we're dead. But maybe when I was 24, painting with that side palette was not so bad. But over time, it kind of wears your shoulder, as the lips are eventually gonna fit somewhere over there. While we have that, we're gonna put a warm touch for the nose. And we're gonna paint right into that when we get into subtlety. We'll add some little pink touches to the corner of the eyes. Just add some color. And maybe, and perhaps, we'll add some of that to the side plane of the eye socket area. And over here, letting it mix with the shadow tone. Like that. And it's gonna get kind of cooler. So we'll switch back to whatever I deemed to be my middle tone brush earlier. And I'll show you on the palette what I'm gonna do. So it's kind of neat to have this color available, cadmium green. See how it goes from slime green to a nice kind of neutral green, like that. That's going to exist over here. And we will end up pushing the mouth that way. Let's pull some of the dark out there. Keeping a nice and steady pace. Not too fast, not too slow. Use that same green over here. Now you see how elegant that greenish tone is in contrast with the blue of the background and the red on the lips and that kind of lavenderish color on the eye socket. Now before we get too ahead of ourselves with the face, now we can get as far as we want and start to really develop the face, but that's not what I want to do that early. So what I'm going to do is move to the arms, and then we'll get into the hands. So, and that's because with this pose in particular, the arms are more important than the hands when it comes to the placement of the shapes here. So I'm gonna have to adjust some things in the drawing. And to get the most out of these videos, don't worry about a reference. Just focus on just the relaxing nature of oil painting. Let me take care of all the hard work. Just sit back and relax. Just enjoy the process. Now what I'm going to have to do is get a different brush that is going to have a color similar to the background. See, this is why it's important to have a big palette, because you're going to have different areas on the palette. For example, now this is going to be the area designated to the background. Let me mix that value close. Okay, that's good. And this is such a nice feeling to paint on a stretched canvas. You can really feel the bounce back of the canvas. Got some dry paint there that I need to get rid of. You know, funny thing, I had a nightmare about being criticized by, I don't know, somebody about this bony landmark right on the shoulder. And I don't remember what it's called actually, but there's a little notch right there on the shoulder. And I'm going to go ahead and paint that now. Yeah, I just had a nightmare about that last night. And John DeMartin taught me the anatomy when it comes to figure drawing. I don't really remember the names of everything. I don't remember the name of this. There's a little notch over here. It's kind of funny. This little notch right there, whatever the heck it's called. I don't remember what it's called. Well, no, it's not the collarbone. It's something right above. But yes, it's on the collarbone, but there's a little lump there, and it's actually a bony landmark for figure drawing to help place the things. It's above the clavicle. And you know, the funny thing is, my buddies at art school had apps for this kind of thing. I don't have an app for it. Sorry if you can hear the construction. It's the acromium process. That's what it is. Acromium. It's the acromium. Acromium. Right here. This is the acromium. It's a little bump that is on clavicle, and I had a nightmare about it last night. So let's make sure to paint that in now. This is more for the clavicle, so again, that's the acromium, this bump right here. Then we move off to the side. Geez, there's a lot of dry paint here. So we move off to the side. This gives us our clavicle. So it starts to give us the shape for the shoulder. Come on, acromium. The acromium right there. Appreciate all the likes, everyone. Sorry for this boring anatomy stuff. Let's add some lemon yellow and white for the neck. The only full nude that Sargent did. Oh, cool. I thought he did one of... I don't know. I can't remember. Okay, so the neck. And the hair is kind of going to be over here. And you know, I may end up having to move the hand. Maybe both of them. That way. I don't know yet. I'll continue painting the shoulder. Then I'll figure that part out. Pinkish color there. Okay, I'm looking at my shapes relative to one another. Hey Shavu. Welcome, welcome. Push this light. A little bit for a tricep back here. Deltoid up here. I added more pink to the deltoid. Now let's look at the positioning. Of the arm. And I'm gonna say it's okay. Less pressure makes this less light. Let's add a little bit of pink for the elbow. Electronon, the technical word for the elbow, but who cares what it's called. Now, I use a mixture of reference and imagination for these paintings. The arms are over here in the reference, and I don't know if I'm going to chase it. I think I will. Like I said, it's kind of early in the painting, even though it's 51 minutes, just because I had to move some clothing out of the dryer. So let's just move it. Move it, move it. Like Bob Ross would say, there are no mistakes, only happy accidents. Unfortunately, in portraits, there are truly mistakes. And they're not just happy accidents. I'm looking at this angle down here. But every mistake is a stepping stone to success. Sometimes you've got to be wrong for a long period of time before you're in the right, say like in science always has to get things wrong. Physics is all about educated guesses and experiments that either support or reject theories. And art doesn't have to be that different. Of course, it's more creative than that. Let's fix that little line that I painted for no reason. Okay. So the hand is going to move that way. And let's go ahead and add the hand back in. Yeah, hypothesis. It's a hypothesis, let's say. The placement of the hands was a hypothesis. Okay, maybe we can move up slightly. We'll move this up. Okay. And apologize to any physicists out there for generalizing your field of study. Okay, so the hands will go right there. Thumb about plumb with the corner of the mouth. I won't take a break at the hour mark because I had to take a break early in the stream. Okay, so thumb is gonna fit there. Oh, thank you, Celeste, for the super chat. Thank you, appreciate it. Here's the thumb right here. That's gonna give us the corner of the wrist. The other thumb is gonna fit right there. All that said, having done this much, even though it might not seem like a lot, but having done this much in 1 hour is still a lot, even though I had to take a break. Oh, thanks. No, I'm okay. Yeah, no, if I feel like I need to take a break, I'll take a break. Okay, good. Let's add the hands. Add them back. Sometimes it's best when you notice something this early on in a painting, just correct it if you can. I'm at fault for not really caring too much about the likeness and all that stuff for the past couple weeks. And it's all about balance, everybody. It's all about balance. You don't want to let things like likeness completely own you, but at the same time, when necessary, just use it. Okay, so this is where the thumb is gonna fit. Now we're gonna go from mitten to claw, although right now it's kind of like a claw. It's more like a centipede right now. Thanks. Okay, so now we've added the claw. The claw for the hand meets with the thumb right there. Yeah, and it really has been a couple weeks since we started this new series. Time does have a tendency to do its thing. Before we know it, it'll be a year that we've been doing this stream. And you know what I'm doing is I'm hanging the paintings on the wall, the wet paintings, kind of more for storage. Of course, thankfully Lucy likes the paintings on the wall. So once they're dry, I'll put them in storage somewhere. I will be, doing craft shows. So 1620 is a good size for craft shows and exhibitions. Maybe we'll get a one-person exhibition at some point. 1620 is a good size for that, though. Oh, thanks. All right, so now let's do some work here. Looking at just shapes alone and maybe a hint of anatomy. Okay, this hand can grow. There's the wrist. And this one's not as seasonal, I guess, as the other ones. This one's more for the fine art kind of stuff. It's less commercial. Okay. Okay, so the thumb. Okay, so the thumb will fit right here. A little concerned with the size of the hand. Grow the hand a little bit. Anatomy. This is actually referred to by some teachers as the snuff box. It's part of the hand. This is thicker. This is what's getting me. And this is much easier to do with lines than it is to do all this with paint. But with enough experience, you'll learn that this is more efficient. You can have the same level of sophistication drawing with color as you could drawing with lines. Okay, so now this is where the thumb will fit. happy little thumb right there, which is going to move the shapes for the hands, or the fingers, should I say. Okay, so it's kind of funny how when you say okay, so it sounds like queso. Queso fresco. It's a really good cheese, in case you never heard of queso fresco. Okay, that is good for that. Now we're past the hour. Still pretty good progress for the hour. Redrawing the hand slowed it down a little bit, but it had to be done. Okay, so let's adjust this queso fresco. So funny how queso sounds like okay, so. This finger. And we'll add all the specificity to this later. It's not that necessary right now. Now let's adjust this. As we move this way, we're going to have to move this that way. Okay, so queso fresco. Okay, now boom. That's going to be our position for arm. The dress is going to fit over there. So now let's go ahead and add the dress. We'll use, I don't know, running out of brushes actually. We'll use the skin tone brush. I'm going to add a little bit of white, just titanium white, and the phthalo blue. Okay, so queso fresco. Alright, so here is the light of the part of the dress that she's holding, which totally makes that pinky small, but whatever. Light over here. Light over here. This is going to be in the shadow. Let's use something similar to the background. Over there. Light over here. Like I said, somewhat slow relative to previous videos, but it's not a race against time. It shouldn't be. It's fun to try to work faster and looser, but sometimes we gotta draw. Sometimes we gotta slow down and accept the queso fresco. Okay. Thankfully, we have successfully moved that. The head relative to the shoulders appears to be about good. And now we can breathe a little bit because that was the tough part. Believe it or not, that's the hardest part in painting. Not the careful rendering. How realistic can I make this thing? Realism in terms of making it look like what you're looking at in real life is not easy. It is tough, but big shapes, placement, composition, that's tougher. There's nothing tougher than composition and big shapes. Now, of course, I'm going to have to adjust the shapes for the elbow. Oh, thanks, Thomas. Thank you for that comment, Thomas. It was a tough drawing. I will admit to that. It was a tough drawing. Olecranon, also known as the elbow. Gives me the position of that. Okay, so now we fix the elbow. Here's a little figure drawing thing, in case you wanted to know something about drawing. The peak of convexity, or like the highest point on a curve here, anytime you do a figure drawing, it's kind of interesting. This peak of convexity is never perfectly going to match up with another one. So this will make it look like a chicken wing if this is here. Kind of like that song, chicken wing, hot sauce and bologna. You don't want a chicken wing. This is going to look like a chicken wing. So the peak of convexity is actually going to move here. So it's actually going to be up right about here. And you don't need a model or any kind of reference to do this. You can draw from your imagination, from your memory. So here to there. And it's the same with the legs. It's the same with almost like every part of the human anatomy. Obviously, there's some exceptions, but that also adds some kind of elegance. The peak of convexity is there. Yeah, chicken wing, hot sauce and bologna. It's one of those annoying songs that I like to play that song to play with my Shiba Inu. He has his little zoomies, and it's kind of funny when there's some funny music playing in the background. There we go. There's the arm. Now we'll add some cadmium green to the middle tone mixture. Okay, so queso fresco. Every time I say queso, I think of queso fresco. Alright, so we're going to add some cadmium green to this mixture here. And let's see. Now, how does that shape work relative to everything else? And it seems to be just fine. As Hugo with the zoomies. He's always got the zoomies. Now this shoulder is turning in towards the face. That's why I had to move the hand. I took the time to move the hand because I knew that that would play a role in the big picture. And I'm going to leave a little bit of the tone of the canvas there because there's going to be some reflected light, or let's say a secondary light source. But we'll add that later. Okie dokie, now we're in a good place. The Good Place, also a great TV show on Netflix. The painting is now in the good place. It was in the bad place in the beginning, and that happens sometimes when we have some mistakes. So let's add that reflected color to the hair. And I'm going to use some of the skin tone with a tiny bit of blue. It's going to be some reflection. A secondary light source over here. A skin tone with a tad bit of blue. A whiff of blue. And this is going to be important because when we get back to the face, we're going to render the daylights out of the face. But in order to do that, we're going to need to have the environment figured out as closely as possible. A little bit of cadmium yellow deep, cadmium free yellow deep, fake cadmium, which is not as good as the real stuff, unfortunately. I was going to buy my favorite one, my favorite cadmium yellow. It's cadmium yellow deep, Grumbacher, but the darn thing was $25 for the tube, and I didn't get it. Even the lead white, the Rublev lead white number 2, the one that I like to use, the darn thing is $150 for the bigger tube. Hey Jonas. Oh, thanks Linda. Thank you. Now we're going to add the phthalo blue with white. Fun fact, I no longer have ultramarine blue on my palette. I like phthalo blue, and I'm a cheapskate. I'm using Artist Loft phthalo blue. So this is probably a student grade color. Yeah, I'm using a student grade blue, if you didn't notice. It does just fine. It doesn't have to be that blue. But some colors, like your cadmiums, you kind of need the artist grade. Now we'll put that bump on the shoulder for the achromium process. The shape, the anatomical shape that literally gave me a nightmare. There it is, a little bump for the achromium process. Now there's a reflected light back here, or a secondary light, also referred to as rim lighting. So a deltoid, and now tricep. And this reflected light or rim light gets a little less dark down, a little less bright, sorry, down there. So we're carefully putting all this stuff around the face until it's time to render the daylights out of the face, which again is not that hard compared to the big picture and the composition. That's the tough part. Hey Linda. Hey Grace, welcome. Now there will be some reflection on the hand. How this will work, it'll all depend on the shapes relative to one another. Like, for example, this is too thick, so that was jumping out. this looks like the finger is chopped off there. So we're going to add something that's not in the reference, because the reference makes this finger looks like it's like chopped off. So I'm going to edit it and let this kind of disappear into the hair. Now this is the secondary light on the edge of the hand there. Gives us a knuckle. Gives us a little knuckle sandwich there. And we're going to add some red to the knuckles. Oh, GG. Welcome back. Well, good. Some of us, figure painting is, our strong suit. Some of us, it's still life. Some of us, it's landscape. You want to know what the low-key insult was back in art school? So, low-key insult, basically like, what's that word called? There's a phrase when people insult one another in a subtle way. Passive aggressive. There was a passive aggressiveness too in art school, as there is everywhere. But whenever someone compliments you on your color, like they say that it's not the case here, because I know that all of you are very genuine when you're talking about my use of color. But in art school, it's kind of a passive-aggressive thing to compliment someone's color. Like, oh, what fine color you're using. Usually means, yeah, I can't draw. Your drawing looks all kinds of messed up. Knuckle here. But yeah, complimenting someone's drawing, and only their drawing, is usually a low-key insult. Complimenting their color, and only their color, is a low-key insult. The highest insult is obviously a straight-up insult, but when someone's complimenting somebody on their light and shadow, their composition or their form, that's usually meant as a true compliment in the art school world. In the real world, not so much. In the real world, people aren't being that passive aggressive. Yeah, thank you. I hope I can draw at this point. It's been a long time. There's the light on the hand. And let's add some more stuff to this hand. The face is not something I'm really that concerned about, because it's rather simple. I know I can add all the detail I want to it later, but that hand, these hands are something kind of important. So forget the face. The face is not that big of a deal. We'll add more stuff to it as we go. But the hands, that's kind of important. And it's kind of like the sandwich technique. Those of you other teachers know about it. You walk up to a student or someone and you start off with something good, then you're like, well, your drawing is hopeless, and then you're like, but you have a really good use of color. Like, that is one of the sandwich methods that just don't work. Like, you don't just like walk up to someone a student and say, man, what great color. And then you bash them on their light and shadow, and then you're like, I really like that blue. Or like, if someone says, I really like the feel of something, that is a red flag. Whenever somebody says they like the feel of something, and as when they're talking about your work, that usually means they don't know what to say, and it's kind of like talking about the weather. Like when you don't know what to talk about, when you're making small talk with someone, and you end up talking about the weather, that's kind of like what the word feel means. Thanks, Gigi. Don't worry, Celeste. Like I said, I don't have any fear of people saying something to me about my drawing, or my inability to draw, or my inability to paint. It's not a concern of mine here on YouTube, because the point of me doing this is to put this information out there and to create an atmosphere where we feel like we're not alone. I feel quite alone and isolated in my apartment. There really isn't an art community for me to work on long poses with people like there used to be in Maryland. So what I am doing with these videos is, I'm not so much worried about how good the painting is, but rather I'm trying to just produce content that I myself would, benefit from. Because, I feel alone here. I'm feeling a little alone, a little isolated from the art community. Painting can get you in the feels. This is true. It's just one of those things, though. Like me myself as a teacher, and I've taught in-person classes. I've taken classes. I just know that whenever somebody opens the art conversation with a sense of, well, this gives me a feel of something, that's usually like talking about the weather. Usually it is. And remember this, the next time you take an art class in person, just think about it. Just remember what I'm telling you. Just remember. And look at the teacher's face when they're talking either to you or to someone else. Or an art critic, if you're in a gallery and somebody says, well, this just gives me a feel. And just look at their face. Look at their face when they say that. You can read right through it. Yeah, this is a great little community. I wish it was always a great, fun experience for everybody, and I hope it'll always be that way. I'm trying to be open and honest about all this stuff, everyone. Okay, there's that. Pinky. The classical thing to do is to make these very thin, and I will, but I'm making them thicker right now. And then I'll go in with a sable, and it's kind of nicer with the fingers to start thicker and then to add lines around them. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Thomas, for that comment. I'm glad that it helps you when you feel isolated or alone. I'm glad that art does have that effect on you. It really is something that can be so therapeutic. And let's get to the big picture. Big picture. Okay, so queso, like the queso fresco. Now let's make these slightly thinner. This is not a thing that I have to be kind of told, I just know because I've painted hands so often that the number one thing is people complain about how thick the fingers are. So I like to start them off thicker just so I have room to make them thinner. Oh, thanks, Linda. I'm glad you're all appreciating this because it's like really been something that I've always wanted to do with painting. The pre-recorded videos I like to do, but to me the live format has more of that kind of like podcast feel to it. And kind of just makes me feel like I'm back in an art studio somewhere. Okay, so now I've thinned out the fingers a little bit there. Okay, so that's good enough for that. But remember, she's holding on to this, so that's going to angle that a little bit. And we'll get the white and just tuck this under here. Because remember, she's supposed to be holding that. And maybe we'll put some of it out here. I don't know. Whatever. Put some of that out there. And you can see how thin I painted the initial layer, because this right here is the mineral spirits. I shouldn't have done it, but I put some Gamsol. I put too much Gamsol on the brush. You see what happened up there? That's my fault. I'm gonna add more paint to whatever this brush. And let's create a vignette, but more kind of in the photography sense rather than the painting sense. So a little hint of dark over here. A little bit of dark. So I'm adding black and phthalo blue over here. And this is really important in a portrait, everybody. You could also just kind of, you'll notice that our smartphones, they tend to do this on their own. They add this kind of dark vignette to the border. But I'll just add it in with the paint directly. Okay. So now we have made it to the point where we can go to town on the face. And I am going to show you the palette once again because it's going to be important for me to explain this to you. Please, if you pay attention to anything that I'm saying when it comes to painting skin tones on the portrait, this is what I want you to get out the most. And if you struggle with color, with portrait painting. Whatever the skin tone complexion is, it doesn't matter if it's light, dark, middle, or like middle toned or whatever. Listen, this is going to be the most important thing for you to understand with color mixing. All skin tones, no matter what they are, no matter who, whatever part of the world, whatever it is, you can achieve it with an orange or a pink. This is a pink. You see it? This is a pink. You can achieve it with an orange or a pink with a tad bit of gray. You see this? This is kind of gray, a little green, but whatever. And that's it. That's quite simple. It's quite easy to achieve a skin tone. All skin tones, no matter what they are, no matter where in the world the model is from, is some type of gray, some type of grayed out pink or orange. I think, and it's just my opinion, but I think that mixing color is the most over-analyzed thing that people tend to overanalyze. Mixing color is the most overanalyzed thing in all of painting. For students, for art students. If you only have a couple years experience, but mixing the color is the most overanalyzed thing I've ever heard of. There's all these wild things out there, like a recipe book. I've seen a recipe book to mix skin tones, to mix colors for whatever. And let me tell you something. That's great. Go ahead and read it, study it, and I'm not telling you that is bad. All I'm telling you is just you might be overanalyzing it. You might be overanalyzing it. And you could add a little bit of purple to any skin tone mixture, as long as you don't add a lot to it, and it'll be fine. Yeah, you could add a little bit of, you can add even a little bit of purple to a skin tone. Okay, now that we're starting to add some gradations, the next thing I need to explain to you is how to do gradations on the palette. And this is really easy. It's so easy, it's gonna like blow your mind. And I know that a lot of you already know this, but again, this is how easy it is. Okay, pay attention. Mix your darks on one corner of the palette, okay, with one brush. Get another brush and create your middle. Now here's your middle. Another brush for your lights. Now, let's see how stringy this is. See how this lifts up kind of like melted cheese? This is my lead white that's mixing in with the titanium white. But whatever, you could just use titanium white, it doesn't matter. So you've got light, you've got middle, you've got dark. Now, when you're painting something with values, have a light brush, a middle brush, and a dark brush. Or just have a whatever, one brush if you want to. So look, here's one section on the palette that's light, corresponding to one section on the portrait that is also light. Suppose I wanted something for this. So here's what you can do. Look, mix right here. See how they just mix together? And that's almost perfect. But suppose I wanted it to be a little darker. Well, then just mix right here. And do not concern yourself with what color are used to create that. And now we just work right all around to create our little gradations. And that is how, you see how this starts to look real? That's how I say, go to town on the form, render the daylights out of the form. So we're going to work on the face a little bit, pull some form. On the eyes, maybe we'll get to the nose, but I don't know. And then I'll take a break. And then we will continue. But that's it. That's like all you need to know with color. Color is actually really, really simple. And it's overanalyzed. It's an extremely overanalyzed thing. So don't overanalyze it. Don't overthink it. And I have no clue, believe me, I have no clue how people, other YouTubers, other teachers, other content creators can continue to make videos on that topic. The 5 hacks or whatever you call it to mixing skin tones or colors, or like a hack here and a hack there. I mean, all the power to them. I mean, they have excellent marketing skills. But when it comes to color, it really isn't that complicated. Thanks, Celeste. The rest is just form. Look at each section on the face. Look at each section just like the palette, going from dark to light. And I promise you, we will render this face out more than the other ones that I've been painting in the past couple weeks. I want to do this just to show you that we can. I can. I just don't a lot of times because I don't really care for that aesthetic. But I'll do it. Again, think about each section here as part of the palette. These are sable brushes. Linda, you say you're starting to feel more bold. That's good. You should be confident, bold, and just enjoying the process. But all of the thinking and like all of the really tough stuff happens in the beginning. Hey, Libertas. Okay, so look, I'm going to go back and forth now between light and dark so I can sculpt out this form. Give me the exact shape of the eye. All these little details are now going to start to become a thing. And all you gotta do is just push the shapes around. Focus on moving from light to dark. And this is how you can create gradations. And if you can put the gradations on the right place, then it will start to look real. This is the, I guess the magic or the secret or whatever to form. There's going to be a lot of back and forth-ish. Which is why those 30-minute portrait painting exercises are so useful for, say, a gesture. It's a gesture of a portrait. I'm not telling you that's the way to paint, but it's a good exercise. Even working with watercolor. Do some watercolor portraits. You know, there's not going to be a lot of back and forth with watercolor because you can't go back and forth that often with watercolor. So that will help you tremendously in your oil painting. I'm not telling you to become a watercolorist, but it helps you be more direct. And once you create good habits with your painting process, like not overthinking color, focusing on composition, big picture, and then giving yourself time to do all the rendering stuff. Understand that the rendering stuff, again, is not the most complicated part. It's literally a part in the painting where you can just relax. Just take however long you need for each shape, because the hard work is already done. Rendering is nothing more than a victory lap. You already did the marathon. Now you can just chill. And to some, that's more fun. To others, that's boring. Depends on your personality. And it also depends on what time of day it is or what month. Sometimes I just feel like painting more fast-paced, especially earlier in the day. Sometimes I just feel like taking all the time I want later in the day. Maybe there's some times during the month where painting faster, more loose. Other times, I just want to slow down. Oh, thank you, Thomas. I'm glad that art does that for you. It silences things. That's awesome. Yeah, for me, it's always, I don't know, it's always been something almost loud. I guess painting has been a kind of like a voice in my head that speaks in a language that only I understand. Yes, I'm so glad that this has helped you. That's my goal with painting, to be able to bring this to everyone. And to be able to do this every day and still make a living is the greatest possible thing that I could achieve as an artist. Now you see the eyes starting to look real. They started off as basically rectangles. I mean, just 20 minutes ago, you didn't even see the eyes. You just saw the eyelid. Now it's starting to take form. That simple. Oh, and we've got plenty of time. And maybe I'll make a point of doing the paintings this way. I'll spend more time with the hands and the environment before getting into the face. The face is something that's so kind of slow, but I guess it's something that I've got more control over, more experience. I mean, literally my entire YouTube channel was built on painting faces. So I've got a lot of experience with faces. Let's face it, faces are probably the thing that you probably watched in my YouTube videos first, was a painting of a face. And this is how we transcend, we move forward. life is not about staying in the same place. And I don't mean physically, but I mean metaphorically. Life is not about staying in the same place forever. You must evolve. Now you can see the eyes start to take shape, and everything else is still in a very basic form. Okay, so we'll add some of the dark accents for the nose, and then we will take a short break. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for all the likes, and thanks for the super chat. I'm so glad that these videos are helping you. Appreciate all the comments also. Oh, thanks, Thomas. And, change can be a really uncomfortable thing sometimes. But, life, as they say, the only constant in life is change. But the fun part is you keep painting. That doesn't change. Painting should be like breathing. It's how we exist. It's something that we do. It's kind of how we exist in a way, metaphorically speaking. Okie dokie. Now let's see what this looks like from a distance. We will spend probably the majority of the time that will be remaining afterwards just rendering the daylights out of the face. Maybe doing some more for the arms, but definitely doing more for the arms. But you can see how the form is starting to turn. Oh yeah, you remember Grumpy Cat? I wonder where the stuffed that plushie went. Lucy had it last I knew. Then it kind of disappeared. Yeah, Grumpy critiquing me. Before I do too much else, this is a good stopping place to take a break. I'm gonna take a break. I'll play a video for you. I've got a couple other ones that I'm gonna start uploading to my little software soon. Okay, so now we shall take a break. That's funny. Alright, so hopefully you'll enjoy the video that I'm going to play, and we'll be back in 5 to 7 minutes. So we'll be right back. Welcome to 7 minutes acrylic eye with color. This is a time lapse. So the video has been sped up so that you can watch it within a approximately 7 minute time range. What you're seeing here is a black and white underpainting, again with acrylic paint. We're painting wet onto dry. However, the acrylic paint allows itself to work wet into wet within the time interval of about, I would say, 2 to 5 minutes until it's completely dry. So as you can see here, in contrast to the technique we use in oil paint, this is very much wet onto dry. I really recommend doing these studies of eyes because it helps you not only work with some anatomy, but also different structures, such as the curvature of the eye. As you can see, there is like a sphere. It has a highlight, it has light and shadow, and it has middle tones. Now you see how we're putting in planes onto the eye socket. Now this is a very fast-paced video, but we have done a similar one to this in oil paint minus the color in real time. I just want to show that you can create these gradations with acrylic, and we have several live streams and pre-recorded videos already done on the YouTube channel that shows acrylic. This is an excellent study to do when you're trying to work on your values, and then eventually it will transition into color. Remember, if you do decide to recreate any one of the paintings done on the channel, including these fast-paced studies, please post it to your social medias with the hashtag #UpariArtist. Now we're putting in values surrounding the eyes. There's a side plane underneath of the tear duct of the eye. And now we've covered the entire surface, pretty much like a cast drawing or a cast painting. And it dries within about 5 minutes or so. Now we're pushing the darks. One thing to notice is that acrylic does dry a little bit darker in the lights, but then the darks themselves will actually fade slightly. Now that transition was done wet onto wet, which means you have to mix that value within about a 2 to 5 minute time range. Now we're pushing the darks even further. And now we're starting to add some hints of color. A little bit of brown. And now we're putting in some skin tone. And the mixtures are done on a dry palette, so I'm mixing each color as I go, and then I'm adding it directly onto the surface. Wet onto dry. Again, to show you that these types of paintings can be done with acrylic paint as well. A little bit of a warmer gray for the sclera, the white of the eye. Just like we did with the underpainting, but it's much easier to add color when you have an underlayer that has careful drawing in light and shadow. Now you see we're filling in some of the mid-tones on the upper eyelid. A little bit of a yellowish color on the side plane of the eye socket. And now we're putting more of a reddish color, kind of exaggerating color a little bit. Which you're totally allowed to do, by the way, with a quick study of an eye. Real time, this video was approximately almost an hour long. So an hour condensed into about 7 minutes. A little more than 7 minutes. Now we're rounding out the eyebrow. Notice how the eyebrows are not painted on. They're literally painted on, but they're not meant to look painted on. They have soft edges, light and shadow. Now you may have seen there that the paint in the light did dry a little bit darker, but the more layers you add, the less that effect will be. Let's just say it won't be interrupting the process. The more and more layers you add, the truer the values are going to look. The values will look more accurate. Here's last minute little color changes. A little bit of blue for the highlight on the eye. Just little last minute color adjustments on this. More light on the eyebrow. So once again, this was accelerated, but we do have a monochrome oil painting eye that was done in about 5 to 7 minutes. Of course, acrylic takes a little bit longer, but this was a fun little break time video for you to show that this can also be done with acrylic. Alrighty, I have returned. No, Hugo didn't eat that plushie. I don't think he's actually seen it. It's been missing for that long. So let's get back to the face now. Like I said, we'll probably spend most of the time just making the face look more realistic. So just using the same techniques, or the same technique when it comes to the color. I've got a light, a middle, and a dark area on the palette. bit more pink for the cheeks. And of course we'll get to the mouth. Using the sable brushes, I have 3 sable brushes that I'm using. So this is much more quiet, I guess. I'll switch to a size 2 filbert bristle. This is a much more quiet time, so feel free to grab a cup of tea or whatever you fancy. Just kind of hang out. In the past, I had a subtlety trivia, which I could bring back, but maybe not today. Try to focus with the painting. Correct that angle for the nose. And some painters never go beyond the concept of a photograph. And it's not that they're not capable of it, it's just maybe they don't understand. So there are many aspects to making something look realistic to us. It's all basically illusions. And there's things like light and shadow, form, perspective, anatomy. These are all elements that we can control. And these are things that photographs do extremely well, except for perspective and color, but they do pretty well. But we can go beyond that. And it's all kind of subjective, really. It's all relative. I mean, what do I even mean by beyond the photograph? It's all subjective, but what I mean by beyond the photograph is use the fundamentals in painting to create something completely new. Sure, it can look like a reference, it can look like a person, but the way that you handle the color, the way that you handle the brush strokes, the subject matter, to some degree. These things are very unique from individual to individual. Whatever story you have in mind with your painting, these are things that an AI can't do yet. These are things that are intrinsically human. And I had a conversation with somebody about this not too long ago. I think it was like last week. Someone at the Pool Academy. And I was like, you ever think that AIs will get to a point where they'll paint something that looks exactly like what someone else painted, like a Rembrandt, obviously. The AIs can create new Rembrandts, but this was a non-artist or just a non-painter that I asked. And he said, no, it never will get to that point. People will always know when there's a human element to it. I would like to think that's the case, but I don't really agree with that. I think AIs will get to a point where they can create paintings and you won't even know. It could create something like that I would have painted. So what's the difference then? What do you do? And the reality is, you just be yourself. Thanks, Jonas. Oh, no worries, Thomas. No need to apologize. I'm glad that the video, makes you think of something like that, like waiting for a smile. That's pretty cool. Thank you. You actually added a really important kind of thing that I was just about to mention, so I never feel like you have to apologize for anything. So what the AI I think will not be able to do, even with achieving self-consciousness, I don't think the AI will be able to perfectly match everything that I'm doing and saying in a painting video, just like Bob Ross, right? An AI can get pretty darn close, but there's that certain human element in it that I don't think the AI will be able to do. And the AI will be able to perfectly mimic me or mimic whoever, but I think it'll be like a twin. Like, you'll be able to tell the difference between the twin. Oh, nice. Veggies for chili. I should probably, I already prepared dinner yesterday. I don't like microwaving stuff too much. Miles to go, you wrote that a lot of mechanical or handmade objects are revered more than machine made. I would hope that'll be the case in the future. I mean, AI is kind of scary to some extent. It's getting really good. Like, um, there's a lot of Shiba Inu related imagery that looks pretty cool. But I could tell it's AI generated though. Oh yeah, they are. I don't think the AIs have gotten past the uncanny valley yet. Anybody that wants to know what the uncanny valley is, it's when something is so close to human. And see, this was I put too much titanium. That was supposed to be lead white, and I put titanium white. That was my mistake. But um, it's when something is so close to real, but you can tell that something's off, and it's so scary and so freaky when something is so real, but you can tell that something's off. And that's why I don't really like paintings to get too realistic, because they're really there's no way to avoid it. The uncanny valley, you really can't avoid it. Like it is a thing. Like if you look at digital, a lot of digital portraits, especially with video games. So yeah, we are just cruising on by with this one. We did all the tough stuff earlier on. Now we're just pulling form. And by now, I think it's already at that point where it's more developed. Not better necessarily, but it's more developed than my previous faces in these demos. And I hate calling it a demo. This is not a demo. This is not a drill. This is not a demo. This is a real painting. This is a real painting that I will try to market. You know, I'm trying to move beyond only being a teacher to and really being a creator that you would want a print of, or you know, something related to the imagery. No, it's not a scar. I just didn't get to it yet. Yeah, exactly what Mark said. There was a reference line from earlier. Exactly as Mark put it. And this is where it gets really podcasty, I guess, because you know it's not so much like a how-to right now. So already we've got more depth to this face than the previous videos of this series. Well, thanks for joining, Thomas. You're welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime. The schedule is Monday through Friday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Have a great day, Thomas. Okay, so now we're in a good place to move to other areas. The face is quite rendered. I guess I could do more for the eyebrows. I typically leave them soft, but what the heck? I could get a little darker to actually look like eyebrows. To give it more of that human element. And maybe we can put in that dark, kind of reddish hint in the eye socket. And we'll let that kind of blend out. And something like that. Really pushing the realism of the face there. Okay, so now we can go back to big picture just to see now the face is starting to come together and really pull some depth into this. Now we will move in towards, well, we spent a while on the shoulders already, so why don't we give it another go for the background. Let's give it another go. And I'll use a different brush, still quite a big brush. You can tell how long this has stayed in the container. It's all bent. Probably not good to leave them like that. So this is why, if you can clean the brushes, definitely clean them. But now let's add some stuff to this. Thanks, GG. So we're going to add a classical fade to the background, but we're going to keep that bluish tone. If If I were a little faster, I would have started with this instead of adding it now. But I'm just taking my time. There is a time to, as some would say, there's a time to fully send it. Let's add some alizarin to the bottom just to add something different. So there's a time to fully send the painting out there. And then there's another time to just take your time. This brush, by the way, is really old. I've had it for a long time. This brush is older than my Shiba Inu Hugo. Actually, all my brushes are. But this is a size 4 Catalyst polytip bristle brush. And no need for theatrics with the background here. It's just going to be a simple classic flow of light to dark, and we will soften some edges here and there when necessary. Yet, even still, this has to get darker. So now I've added black. So that's good enough, I guess. To that. Now we'll just let this flow upwards. Gives us our gradation from light to dark. Darker on the edges. I want to quiet the brush strokes down. I don't want there to be too many brush strokes showing through in the background. So some odd brush strokes here and there, but not too many. Something like that. Now you see, it's starting to create a glowing effect on the model, which will be amplified when we start to push a little bit more form over here. A little bit of black paint on that corner. Now you can see how the background is creating that kind of glow that we want. Light just flowing like this kind of. something like that. Light coming from this direction is amplified now. Okay, so with the same brush, we will add some red to it. And this shadow will now get a touch cooler. Which starts to create more of the illusion of form. We'll add more for the hair later. Okay, so maybe some more of a transition for the arm, or for the deltoid, I guess. Push the light here first. And we'll leave that little bump right there for the acromium. The little anatomical shape that I had a nightmare of. Let that blend downwards a little bit. And now a little bit for the bicep. So miles to go. He said, I'd like to believe it'd be a while before AI could come up with some impressive works depicting character, age, stress. Well, let's hope that let's hope the programmers take their time with that. To all the computer programmers out there watching, feel free to take all the time you need. Soften that edge a little bit. But I'm sure that AI will add some good things to our lives. I'm sure something, I don't know. Okay. Push that highlight on the shoulder a little more. We use white and some lemon yellow. And now that we have that, let's go ahead and push the reflected light. Same brush, maybe a touch of cadmium yellow deep. Now you see the hair start to take shape with that light. A touch of red. A little more red. And cadmium yellow. Adding form to the hair. It's as easy as adding light to the highlights. And pushing the darks wherever they need to be pushed. pushed. On the topic of AI, you never really know. Does anybody remember when you were in elementary school or whatever, and teachers would say you're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket? Does anybody remember those days? You're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket. I mean, when I was in school, I didn't even know we would have the capability of, doing this kind of work. This job didn't exist yet in 2008. I mean, YouTube was already a thing, but it wasn't like this. Abacus? I don't even know what that is. Maybe I should know what it is. Logbooks, utterly pointless. Wow. They didn't have calculators in your elementary school. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like a millennial thing. When we were growing up, it was like the teachers, you're not always going to have a calculator. You never really know how fast technology is going to develop. You never know. Yeah, I mean, art's one of those things that just kind of transcends time in a sense. But the technology that will be added to art is really something to pay attention to, I guess. And nowadays apparently they changed math for kids. Like, I mean, I guess it's just arithmetic though. I mean, arithmetic is just arithmetic, but the other stuff you can't really change. Yeah, that kind of worries me a little bit, Miles, to go. I mean, yeah, of course, the kids these days aren't gonna be, yeah, doing these calculations manually as much, but I mean, where did I guess that kind of mental energy goes into something else, like something computer science or whatever. I would hope it's something productive. Math is another world. It's a universal language for sure. I think for me, math really began at proofs, uh, proving things and number theory and stuff. I mean, that's kind of where it begins. Like arithmetic is more just kind of a way to create a calculation. But proofs, that's where, math kind of really becomes a thing. The rest is kind of plug and chug. Like all of the beginning calculus, it's like plug and chug for engineers or whatever. It's kind of like form in painting. It's kind of plug and chug. And composition and stuff is more like proofs. It's that tough stuff that goes unnoticed. Oh, really? I didn't know that one, Gigi. About counting. I don't know what that one is. I should know what it is, but I don't know. So thanks, Owling Dog Design. Some light and shadow to the drapery so that we can eliminate some outlines. Yeah, I would agree. Creativity needs some hands-on stuff. But in a way, thought experiments could also be thought of as hands-on sometimes. You can think so much about something that it becomes almost like it's in the real world through visualization methods or whatever. Happy little elbow there. Got too many brushes on hand. Put some brushes down. Yeah, and this little thing that she's holding on to, I don't like anymore. Take that out. I'll make room for that thumb. I'll add it back. So thanks, Miles, to go. I'm glad that it adds some kind of story. I'm always thinking about stuff like that. Like, how can there be a story on this, like, or different interpretations of a story? You know, we always want our portraits or our figurative paintings to evoke something other than it just being somebody posing for something. but that's hard to do. Not an easy painting to do in this time frame, but we're making it work. Whew, too much blue. The chromium, little bump right there. Use some cadmium green for this light. Just because we can. I don't know, just because we can. Throw in some cadmium green. Let's see. Could be. I don't know. If this is long, it's just gonna stay long. I could lift it a little if I have time. It also depicts the height of the model. A little bit of red here. Really have fun with the color. And I guess they should be angled. I'm looking at the angle. Okay, so when it comes to this angle, it's always pretty easy to just do a little cut into something, re-outline it, and why not, if we have 10 minutes left, just chop into the model's arm. Not a big deal. like I said, it's not so much about completing this in the stream for me anymore as it is about, producing something that I can work with, market even. Yeah, we could do that. Sure. I can darken the background. I'm glad you like the painting. So let's move this elbow. Maybe we won't finish it entirely, but let's move this up. And then we can darken the left part of the composition. Like I said, there's no need to rush. I think wanting to finish it all during the time frame of the stream is kind of more of a pride thing, like an ego thing. Gotta let go of the ego once in a while. Like I said, probably won't finish it here, but I'll work on it probably later tonight. And because I'm using the safflower oil, this will stay wet for a while. Tomorrow I'll stream something different, just because I tend to struggle to get views when I stream the same thing over and over. Thanks. It was a concept that I had in mind that I was like, well, let me see if I can do something from start to finish, and every one of these streams, then I realized that's not really the point. I mean, it's for the paintings, and it's for people to have something to enjoy, to relax. It's not about a race against time to finish the painting. Not at all. Adding the warmth back to that. And it would be nice to be able to paint the whole thing and in the stream and say, hey, we did this all in one stream today, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's okay. Alright, reflected light for the elbow, and then we'll push the contrast for the accent, and that should be pretty good for the movement of the elbow, moving that up. So again, we moved it up that way. It was a little bit longer before. Oh, thanks, Mark. Yeah, thanks for catching that. Gigi was the one that caught that. Alright, accent here. And that completes that. That completes that. So now you see the angle over there. And what do you say we push the dark on the left? I like that. That's cadmium green that we used for that light. Now look at how the cadmium green works with this tone here in relation to that. And now we're going to darken the background a little bit more. So look how it creates a glowing effect. Kind of Mr. Alla Nelson Shanks kind of feel. He would have put a cadmium green in a highlight for sure. Bouguereau, Sargent, painters of that nature would not have done that. But I just wanted to show that area. How it just kind of, there's always a kind of little magical spot in a painting, and that's the one. And hopefully we'll have ourselves a painting that we can show in exhibitions, something that we can create art prints, sell the art prints. I'm actually thinking of creating bookmarks with these paintings. Of course, they would be like these cropped, like long cropped areas. And that was actually Lucy's idea for the bookmarks. So I can't take all the credit. We'll see if anyone will like the bookmarks. So I agree. I think that this left portion needed to be darkened a little. But I still want some glow, some light effect here. If anything, I should probably add an extra hour or 2 hours to the streams. And then I'll never get the laundry done. Mark L, that was a good one. You were allowed to say anything you want. You can say anything you want. Let's add, it's right here on this section here. More of that phthalo blue. Trust me, you can say whatever you want. If my drawing is messed up, that's okay. If I forgot to put the achromium process, like I had a nightmare about last night, that's okay. But we did all right today. Maybe I can add another hour to these streams. Whew, that was a close one. Almost lost it. Almost lost that shape. And the reason that happened was because this brush is curved. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't apply a brush stroke over there. And that's why we have these brushes, cheap throwaway brushes, to blend out stuff in the background. Everything has a use. Yeah, Nelson would have done something like this. Really push that edge. Now obviously I'm going to have to darken this so that this can remain softer. Delicate little edge. But that pushes the light, I think. Oh, thanks, Celeste. I wish I didn't have to do the laundry, but I have to. I gotta. Of course, I'm not going to make Lucy do the laundry because I work from home, right? Like, I have no excuse. No excuse. Okay, so the edges are all working nicely. Yet still, this can get darker. So there was less oil on my canvas today because I wanted to have more control in that initial stage. And I think someone mentioned that they wanted to, I think, was it you, Celeste? Or someone mentioned that they wanted to buy the still life with the bread. I actually had to paint over the bottom part of it because it was finally dry, but I noticed I missed part of the bottom. So I'm going to check it now while we're here. And just feel free to email me if you really wanted to buy it. Let me get it. It's above somewhere up here. My little cabinets. Let me make sure I can find it. Okay, here it is. I think, yeah, it's dry. The bottom part is dry. So just send me an email. I think it was you. So I think it was you that asked me. So it's dry now, this one. Pretty much all the ones from week 1 and 2 are dry. So if anybody wants to buy the original or a print, just feel free to send me an email. Some of them are taking longer than others. Like this one is still kind of in between dry. This one is it dry? Yeah, this one's dry. So send me an email if you're interested in one of those paintings. My email is my name, Upari, and then the artist, all one word, at gmail.com. I won't type it because that's going to set off my stream. If you type your email or a phone number or anything like that on YouTube, it actually it takes it out of the chat. It's kind of weird like that. But yeah, it's my name, Upari, and then the artist at gmail.com. Let's see. Yeah, Gigi. Yeah, you're allowed to tell me. Oh, no, it's okay. I can make the prints whenever. I already have the final photograph, so I can sell the original whenever. So yeah, so everybody, you have my email now. Those of you that are interested in buying stuff, just send me an email if you want to buy something. Kind of like Bob Ross would say, drop me a line. Do you remember that? So yeah, just send me an email. darken the background a bit over here. And then we're almost ready to sign it. And I guess this one we will consider this one finished. The elbow was kind of questionable, but I kind of like where it ended up. Literally where it ended up. Yeah, one of the important rules about streaming is you're not supposed to put emails or anything like that. But of course, I don't have that big of a following with my streams where I need to worry about, you know, that. So, should be okay. It's a work email anyway. Oh, the 150 one is still on Etsy. That's why I said I don't have that big of a following. I forgot to take that one off. I did forget to take that one off. But yeah. So Celeste, whenever I get the email, we can Zoom. We can talk on Zoom about the details. Anybody that wants to buy a painting, I'll Zoom with you. We can just talk about the details. Oh yeah, I do take Venmo. Yeah, Venmo's fine. But yeah, Celeste, I'll send you a Zoom. Whenever you're free this week, we can talk. Oh right, I should put it in the description box. You're right. That would be a much smarter thing for me to do. Oh, thanks, Grace. You know, everybody, I think it's in that. We're at that time where we can sign it now. You know, like I said, if it happens that we do finish the painting in this time frame, then we finish it. If it so happens we need more time, then more time. This would be a good place to sign right here. So I'm going to sign over there. Yeah, I should put it in the description. You're right. You are correct. Okay. I'm going to drop a signature on here. I'm going to use black and phthalo blue. Thanks, Celeste. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions, everyone. I'll still be here for a little while. Painting is pretty much done, but I'm always happy to answer any questions. This part's kind of fun, the signing part. So I like this to be the place where we sign. So just a dark blue. So dark you probably won't even see the blue. Okay, so right about here, I said okay, so again, so some queso fresco. then of course a 2 and a 5 for the year. Of course, I got a lot of paint on my pinky. I kind of like that area for the signature. So it looks like we've got a painting, everybody. We have got a painting. So yeah, I'll start putting the email in the description in case anyone's interested to buy paintings and prints. This is the part where I was talking about. I'm gonna check it with like almost every painting now. You see this part? This is you can't see it on camera, but even something as simple as just moving it down with my finger is enough. Always check this, everybody. When you finish a painting, check the bottom part. Make sure that the paint is covered all the way to the bottom. Kind of like that cliche, you missed a spot. I don't want to miss a spot. I don't want to miss a spot. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope that the video is helping you out. Hopefully it's therapeutic and educational in some ways. And yes, I will be selling prints and originals, but because there's not so much demand for them yet, I'll just be using my email, so just feel free to send me an email, and we can always work something out. Some artists leave things unfinished looking. Well, I mean, yeah, some stuff is unfinished looking. Some stuff, I guess. Some stuff. So remember, everybody, the schedule is Monday through Friday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Though sometimes the schedule can change, but that is the highest probability that you will find me streaming live here on YouTube. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. I wish you the very best, and I'll see you next time.